Greetings, one and all, and welcome to another edition of the Breakfast. Sorry, I did it again. I dead named my channel, the Dinner Club, and the Dinner Club has got a new series of interviews, as viewers will be coming to find out. And this fourth interview is with my good friend BionicDance. How are you, Kate?
Oh, I'm all right, I suppose. I mean, it's been an interesting couple of years, and today has been actually better than most, so I'm all right.
Oh, okay, that's intriguing. Before I launch into my set questions, what makes today any better than most?
Well, as most people probably know, if they know me at all, I've been working on this animated project for a really long time, and I have just been so in the zone the last week or two. And today I got done this super, super complicated 4-second shot with like 8 characters and a whole lot of action and a couple of particle systems and stuff. I mean, it's a pretty epic 4 seconds, and I was just really thrilled. Plus another shot. I mean, this thing, it's up to like about 18 and a half minutes long already. And I think by the time it's done, it could be anywhere from 25 to 30. And like I said, I'm totally in the zone. And so it's going really well and a lot quicker than it used to. There's less lip sync than there used to be. And it's just, I don't know, it's helping me grow as an animator. So
yeah, that's pretty cool. I intend to ask you more about that stuff later on to give you a good chance to plug your stuff. But also, I wanted to say, sometimes when I'm watching like an animated movie, and then I'm watching the credits roll at the end, and then you get to the point where it says animators, and there's like 35 names or whatever, right? And I'm thinking, Kate does all that. She's all those in her movie. All those people, that's Kate.
And that's, well, yes and no. I mean, some of the animators that they list are probably also like physics coders or whatever, people who do that kind of stuff. Why am I blanking on the word for pyrotechnics? That's it. Those kind of effects, because those are really difficult unless you have some very specialized software. But yeah, I mean, there's a reason this project has consumed about 3, 4, maybe even 5. Now I have to do the math, years of my life, because I am doing all of it on my own. And I'm not Pixar or ILM. So, it has taken me a while. It's a good thing I love what I do. And it's a good thing that I've come up with something that really means something to me. It speaks to my childhood and sort of a love letter to the space opera community, that kind of thing. So being enthusiastic about your own work is a really good thing. It makes life better.
Yeah. Like I said, I intend to ask you more about that later on. So I think I'm going to go with my stock questions now. And so I've got a set of questions I ask for everybody, the same questions, and I got some questions I'm just asking for you. So the first, I will mix them up a little bit, but for the most part, the first ones are definitely all the stock questions. So, and this is, like I say, I do apologize. Some of this is a bit banal, but that's how it is. So where were you born and who was president when you were born?
Well, I was born at a very early age in rural ass Vermont in 1975. The very ass end, I saw 16 days, actually more like 15 and a half of 1975. And if I recall, Jimmy Carter was president. So
No, that's
no?
Gerald Ford.
It was Gerald, really? When was Jimmy? Well, okay, yeah, sure, okay, because Reagan was 80. So yeah, I got just a tiny bit of Ford, didn't I?
Yeah, you're one of the few born under Ford. The only person who was ever president of the United States who was never elected to be president or vice president. Just a little bit of trivia for you there. So it's my understanding or recollection that you were adopted.
Yeah, at 3.5 months. No, sorry, I was given up at 3.5 months. I was adopted at 5.
Oh, okay, right. And do you have any memories of before you were adopted?
Not at all, no. But I did actually kind of a little bit go on a search. What I turned up absolutely nothing, but a friend of mine who's also adopted, who, interestingly enough, his parents almost could have been my parents because we were adopted from the same agency at the same time. Like, our parents know each other because they met there, right?
Wow.
Yeah, kind of crazy, right? Now, he had what they call a search angel, who goes out looking for people's birth parents for them because she knows what she's doing in ways that I certainly didn't. And so I gave her what little information I had, and she did manage to find BioMom. No idea about BioDad, but BioMom, yeah, we found her. I have not contacted her yet. I don't know if I even will. I mean, I've found her Facebook page. I've found a few articles written about her in a Vermont newspaper, and that might be all I need, honestly. I don't know how much I want contact, and I don't know if she can accept the whole LGBT thing. So,
Right. Well, that's a dangerous sort of thing to contemplate, because you never can tell with strangers, where their heart is on that sort of thing. I'm interested to learn about that though, because Zonstar, who guest stars sometimes on the jamborees, we did an interview with him on Sunday, and looking at people's genealogy is like one of his main pastimes and hobbies, as well as something he does, I think, on the side. Anyway, and he talked about in one of the jamborees about how looking up people's people who were adopted, finding their parents can be interesting and challenging and whatever. But I'm always intrigued by the person who's looking for their parent, because I'm not so sure. I guess it just means different things to different people, huh? Because have you had like a burning desire your whole life to find out who it was, or any of that stuff, or not?
yes and no. I mean, the only reason I even started the search was just I wanted some answers. I wanted some information. I wasn't really sure what else I wanted. I just, like, my origins have always been a little bit, I hate to say, shrouded in mystery, but it's certainly not been information I had. And, well, okay, if I may indulge a little, you know how there's a lot of old stories out there where the orphan or whatever finds their parents and they turn out to be like deposed royalty or something, and
Right.
you get taken back to the kingdom? Well, it turns out that that's actually less common among adoptees than thinking your parents are space aliens. And oh my gosh, having been raised in the era of Spielberg and Lucas and all of those folks, yeah, I had that my parents are space aliens fantasy for a good long time. And having found BioMom, either she got a really good disguise job, like a cloaking device like you wouldn't believe, or she's human as hell.
Right.
So I mean, in a way, it kind of sucked to have that fantasy taken away. But on the other hand, I do like having the info, you know?
Sure.
And of course, I'm also a genetic time bomb. I don't know what's coming. But in the article I found, well, that my search angel found for me about her, she's adopted too. We
Oh,
both have no idea what's in our medical future at all.
wow. Wow. Hello?
I'm still here. I was done.
Oh, right. Yeah, I was just gonna say. Sorry, it's a bit hard because I can't see your face at the moment, so I didn't really know.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm
That's
having a hair issue right now, a severe appearance deficit. That's what's going on.
okay. That's fair enough. Anyway, but so you've seen a picture of your mom then, or
I have.
your birth mom, I should say.
Yes. One from when she was a teenager. And like I said, I found her Facebook page, and I can sort of a little bit see my face in hers. I do wonder how much more or less I resemble BioFather.
Right. Yeah, that's an interesting thing to contemplate. I mean, like for example, my sister and I are a year apart, but I look like my mom, and my sister looks like my father. So
Hmm.
yeah. Anyway, so after you were adopted, and you basically you stayed in Vermont, didn't you? You grew up, you stayed in Vermont your whole childhood, right?
Yeah, until I left for college.
Which college?
I didn't say. I just until I left for college.
Oh,
But
so
I went
that's
to the Rochester Institute of Technology as a film and video major.
oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I'll get to that in a second. But going back to when you were young, I mean, so when you were a kid, did you like school?
Not really. I looked at school as more like something they're making me doing that's keeping me from playing and reading and watching stuff and all of that. I mean, I'm very entertainment centric. I mean, heck, look at my hobbies. I make
Sure.
animation, that kind of thing. I've worked in video games, all of that. I mean, I've often said to people, look, if I was offered a one-way ticket to Never Neverland, you better believe I'm taking it. I think that childhood, even as it was kind of miserable in some ways, was still the best part of my life, and I miss it in many ways. And so, I mean, I guess that's a lot of what fueled my direction headed towards animation. But when it came to school, I mean, I've had these conversations with a friend of mine about why most people don't read after they leave school. And I think it's because the books they make you read in school make you hate reading. If I hadn't found sci-fi and fantasy before they started making me read shit like Anna Karenina, I probably wouldn't be a reader either. I'm thinking that the syllabus, the reading lists in schools need to be updated to be a little more entertaining and appealing to the target audience,
Oh, I totally hear you. I mean, people have opinions about J.K. Rowling, and people have opinions about her novels, of the Harry Potter novels, and whatever. And they're all welcome to their opinions. I don't necessarily think their opinions are right or wrong as such. Having said that, the Harry Potter novels in particular got a whole generation of millennials to enjoy reading who might not have enjoyed reading if they hadn't had their Harry Potter exposure. So I feel pretty strongly that, there's a generation of people that learn to love to read. I never learned to love to read. I'm one of these people who gets so easily distracted that, it has to be riveting to keep me involved.
Whereas in high school, I was the sort to sack out on the couch with a book, something to read, something to eat, and two cats lying atop me who hated each other. So I had to lie very still. And 16 hours later, done, the end. I did that all through high school. Mind you, I also punctuated that with a lot of video games and movies and rollerblading and all kinds of other stuff. But still, I could have absorbed a book in an afternoon if I really put my mind to it.
Yeah, I envy that, really. So when you were in school, were you like a brainy kid? Were you a misfit? Were you a
Misfit.
sporty kid?
Misfit, definitely a misfit. I mean, let's face it. All right. I was for a very long time was the second most ethnic kid in my class, just after Jignesh Shah. Right. So in very white Vermont. Now, granted, there isn't a lot of prejudice or racism, but it still set me apart quite a bit. And then there was the fact that I was raised by hippies instead of white bread suburbanite types like most of the other kids in school, and just lots of other things. Bad hair. I mean, I'm sorry, it's true. If you have curly frizzy hair, people like you less. I know that's a movie trope and people hate it, but it's fucking true. And glasses, I've had my eyes fixed with LASIK and I wore contacts for a very long time, but all through my school years, glasses. I mean, I was like that Disney princess before picture all through my childhood, and it sucked.
Oh, wow. Something that people don't really talk about as often in America as they do in Britain. And that is what I call hair bigotry. Right.
Yeah.
In Britain, basically, if you have strawberry blonde or orange hair, you're going to get it for your whole life. It never ends. What I mean is, it's not just when you're kids. I mean, you get teased about being a ginger if you're ginger, and I don't understand it. I don't understand hair bigotry at all. I don't understand that bigotry in general, but especially hair bigotry. I mean, what the fuck? What the fuck? I don't understand.
In my own case, I kind of get it because I look at myself when I'm unkempt and I'm like, yeah, people would be right to tease me if I went out looking like this. But what can you do?
Indeed. Okay, right. So when you were going through school, did you have a favorite teacher?
Gosh, yes, I did actually. Come to think of it, I did. Mr. Kamoli was he was an English teacher who somehow conned the school board in the early 90s to build an animation lab and video editing suite. And it was because of him that I started pursuing my passion, which is animation. We had these ancient computers. I mean, we're talking Amigas here that were running Deluxe Paint 2 enhanced that let us do two-dimensional animation, but it all had to be hand-drawn pixel by pixel or, with brush tools and line tools and stuff, but it was nothing like Photoshop is today. Sure. And we also had the video toaster, which was this special effects suite that had built into it a primitive version of Lightwave 3D, which was the first time I ever animated in 3 dimensions. So and he was also one of the nicest guys in the world. So yeah, Mr. Kamoli, definitely my favorite teacher.
Well, and you already answered my second half of the question, which is why is he your favorite teacher? So yeah, that's pretty cool. Now, Kate, I'm aware that you had epilepsy, right? And
Yes.
did that always prevent you from driving?
Oh, no, no, no. This was actually something that developed. Apparently, there had been a bleed in my brain that created what they called a cavernous malformation, but is really just a hole. And it was because of that and how it was like interacting with food that would make my blood vessels contract that caused the seizures. So I didn't even start to have the seizures until like, what was it, 2012 or something?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I
2008?
thought
I
you were
don't know. I'd
already
have to go
official
look
at
it up.
something. Yeah. Yeah.
But it was, yeah. And so for years, I dealt with it until they fixed it with surgery.
Right. Yeah, that's cool. And I'll talk about that more in a bit. But so because I couldn't remember, I knew you weren't driving for a while there, but I didn't remember if that meant you always didn't drive or not. So what was your first car?
Well, I never actually owned a car. I drove my parents' cars a lot, though. They had this like boxy ass Volvo and like a oh, what was it? It was like a Nissan Stanza. I don't know. It's been a long ass time. But when I moved to Seattle, they have such an amazing public transportation system. Like the buses are great compared to like other places I've lived, that I just never felt the need to have a vehicle. The only time I ever really needed to is if I wanted to visit some friends who were living out in the boonies.
Mm, I hear you. I mean, I lived in the UK for 31 years and I never owned a car the whole time. So I get it. You can make it. If you live in a place where there's public transport, you can make it. Up where I live now, though, I'm so remote. There's no way I could survive. I'd literally die without a car. Right. So where was I saying? Oh yeah, here we go. Okay, how old were you the first time you definitely knew you were in love?
Gee, let's see. I guess I want to say 19.
Okay.
I mean,
And
I know specifically who and when. I'm just trying to do the math on the year.
right, right. Well, I mean, that's ballpark is fair enough. I mean, you don't have to nail it right down. But yeah, and tell me about it. What was she like?
Well, we met in college. She was actually a mutual friend between me and some of my other friends. We all were playing this multi-user dungeon, text-based, purely text-based, that we all enjoyed. And for whatever reason, she came to visit all of us at college, and then at one point got me alone and planted one. And she was actually the reason I ended up moving to Seattle. So
Wow,
yeah.
yeah, that's pretty amazing. And so obviously, as mentioned by Dev Show in the comments there, the most well-known vegetarian on YouTube is BionicDance. Um, and I love that T-shirt that you used to wear, vegetarian. Do you still have it?
I do, but it is so shredded at this
It's
point.
haggard,
It
right?
is.
Yeah.
I do have another T-shirt. It's just like white letters on black, and it just says "Nobody knows I'm a lesbian."
That's pretty funny. And how long have you known? I mean, did you always know, or did you do the experiment thing, or what?
No, I knew. I know. I mean, truth to tell, in recent years, and if you can't tell, the black chevron on my avatar's flag there represents demisexuality, which means I really don't feel lust until the love is there, right? So I really didn't feel the need to experiment. And then when I started having romantic attractions, I was like, oh, okay. And that is one of the benefits actually of being raised by hippies is I didn't have like I was not made to feel shame. I have a couple of aunts who are lesbians, and so I had them as an example to be able to try to figure out what the hell was going on with me. So it was actually made fairly easy. I never really had to rebel when it came to my sexuality.
Right. Do you feel fortunate in that regard?
I do actually. I mean, that shouldn't be surprising. I've talked to
I mean,
other people
some
who
people.
like they don't even speak to their family anymore, or rather, their family won't speak to them. For like decades, just because you don't fall in love with someone with the right shape of wedding tackle. Gee, you know.
Right, right. Oh, that gag totally threw me off what I had to say. I forgot now. So anyway, so did you have like a coming out moment, or did everyone just always assume that about you? Because some people like really have a dramatic issue about coming out, and some people just don't.
Nah, it really like I mean. there was never any kind of announcement. I was enough of a misfit and an outcast in high school that really the only people who knew were the other nerds and geeks and outcasts I hung out with. Nobody
Right.
else really cared that much.
Right.
So, that made it so that, like, when I went to college, I could just say it and nobody gave a damn. I mean, it was just easier. There was never like that moment of having to tell everybody and having it be weird and, almost like a reverse intervention. That never happened.
Good. Well, yeah, that's great. That sounds healthy. It sounds easy to navigate anyway.
Yeah.
So, and are you the kind of person who, I mean, you said you don't really feel sexual until you feel romantic, and in a ways there's lots to envy there, but also I wonder if it must mean that the romances are fewer and further between, though.
I don't know what you mean by that.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not sure I understand I don't know, because I'm the opposite. See, I fall way too fast. See, so it's hard for me to put myself in that space, I guess.
Well, I mean, I've been known to fall pretty fast and pretty hard, but like I hear about people who like go out to get laid and all of that stuff, and I'm like, wow, I can't even imagine. Just it doesn't. No, I mean, if that's your thing, fine, but I'm not like that at all. I don't see the appeal. I mean, I guess I do on an intellectual level, but I can't empathize easily, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, I hear you. I've been on all the different sides of that equation myself, so I actually get what you're saying. Anyway, so have you had many long-term relationships?
Gosh, let's see. I want to say 3, but I guess it depends on how you look at it.
Sure.
I mean, like, does long distance count? Does this, that, or the other thing count as an actual relationship? Or was it just 2 people very awkwardly being friends who kind of want to hit on each other, but can't quite work up the courage kind of relationships? I mean, I guess I can land on.
You knew they were your girlfriend, where you knew that in your head that you were.
All right, then 3.
3. Okay. Yeah.
3.
There you go.
Yeah.
And is the most recent one the one that you were just starting to get over when we first met, or have you been? Because as far as I know, you haven't had a partner since we've met.
Okay. I'm not sure exactly which one you're talking about.
Well, I think you had a partner that had a very dramatic ending to the relationship and her personal story, which I don't necessarily need to reiterate unless you want to.
This would be the time when I had to give mouth to mouth.
That's the one.
Okay. She was the next to last.
Oh, okay. So, I'm glad to hear that you've been with someone since then. Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. But I mean, the truth is that I'm just completely clueless when it comes to dating. I've actually had friends tell me like, "Oh, she was hitting on you. Why didn't you?" And I'm like, "She wasn't hitting on me. She was just chatting with me about stuff that we both like." They're like, "She was hitting on you." So it's like, and I hate to say it, looking back, I missed a few opportunities that I regret like you wouldn't believe. There was this one chick in the Seattle goth scene who I now realize was hitting on me, who was like the gold standard. She was number 1. She was one of those ones that was out of everybody's league, and she was hitting on me, and I didn't fucking realize it. Oh my gosh.
Ouch. I hate it when that happens, or at least I would hate it when that happens if it ever happened to me.
Well, maybe that's because I didn't see it because I didn't think I was worthy. I don't know. But for whatever reason, I'm like, I lost a chance with her. Oh my gosh, that sucks.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I hate that feeling of especially like when you say goodbye and it's like literally 60 or 90 seconds later, you're going, why didn't I say this? Or I should have found out, because there's nothing to lose if you're never going to see them again anyway. There's nothing to lose by saying, "Hey, can I have your number?" Right? But it's
yes and no. I mean, you might get a date, but you might get a date, but it might also turn out that you shouldn't have asked.
Sure. Yeah. Right.
Experience tells me.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, because I know that about you as well already, because we've talked about that before, about how, it must be really frustrating to get crushes on people that you basically know are straight, you know. It's just
Oh,
like,
no, 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 not just that. I have the worst instincts even when it comes to other lesbians. I have a tendency to fall for bad girls, and, well, they live up to the name. Each and every one of them has caused me unending amounts of pain, and I need to start looking for girls next door. If I'm the bad girl in the relationship, then it won't get that bad, you know? So, yeah, I really got to start looking for that sort of like lipstick lesbian type.
it's an
Because
interesting, it's an
trying to date
interesting
tank
psychological
girls.
phenomenon how some people are attracted to the baddies. I don't know. I don't really, I've never really understood it, but it never worked in my favor because no one ever thinks of me as the bad boy. See, so
Right.
so it was like, why does it have to be like this? Anyway. No, yeah, but if you were going to be the baddie in the relationship, as it were, um, you know, I just can't picture it.
Well, no, what I'm saying is that like I would move the scale the way you can move an Overton window to where, I was more or less in the middle, if not on the fluffy bunny end of the spectrum. Let's shift that over so that now where I was is now as bad as it can get.
Right, right. I
And
like
then I
that.
got to go looking for someone on the good end of that spectrum.
Right, I like it. I like it. Okay. All right. So Kate, you can take this question any way that you want.
Very
Um,
well.
what is the worst thing that you've done for money?
Ooh. Gee. Worked for Amazon?
Worked for Amazon. Okay, I'm gonna write that one down.
I actually did work one of their warehouses as a temp once. It was Christmas. They were short people. This was like a really long time ago. So maybe they got worse because we've all been hearing horror stories now. But at the time, it was actually kind of a fun job, except it made my feet hurt like you wouldn't believe. And
Because you're on
now
your feet all day, aren't you?
I do a little bit regret working for Amazon, but it's also part of the Seattle experience. You're not really a Seattleite unless you've worked for either Amazon, Microsoft, Starbucks, or Boeing.
Right. Yeah. Or someone in your family must have to do that, right? I mean, it's got to be like, yeah, those are the
Yeah.
four big ones. The whole Starbucks thing always really amuses me, right? I mean, like, I understand how capitalism works, but I mean, literally, you can see Starbucks from another Starbucks sometimes. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah.
I think it's kind of funny. Anyway, so on the flip side of that last question, what's the best job you've had, or what have you enjoyed doing most that you got paid for?
Well, I have actually worked in video games. I was a cutscene scripter and a level designer for a couple of games. I was also at one point developer support artwork side for a licensable game engine. And I've worked as a game tester for Microsoft. I was actually testing the hardware rather than the software, but the testing of hardware was playing games. So, those were pretty good, actually. Those were great jobs. Working in the video game industry was probably the best thing career-wise I've ever done.
Yeah, that's
So far.
pretty cool. Well, so far, yeah, good caveat there as well.
Eh,
So far, yeah, wow, that's pretty cool. And so if you could have like any job in the world that exists, right? Um, and you didn't have to worry about and you get adequately, you get paid, well for the job. What job would you do if you could have your dream job? If you could like write the job, would you work at ILM or something like that, or what would you do?
Well, I mean, I might, but honestly, and this is such a cliche, but what I really want to do is direct. I mean, the truth is, like, it's not even necessarily that I want to direct. The whole reason I got into any of this stuff is because I love telling stories. I mean, I'll say it, but I said it before, say it again. I grew up in the age of Lucas and Spielberg, where special effects and writing were converging and becoming actually, like, I'd say, a golden age of film. Because after that, everything started getting, sanitized, corporatized, and all of that. And I just sat there fascinated watching those movies movies, watching Saturday morning cartoons in the 80s and all of that. And I just loved the crap out of it. It inspired me. And I've told you about those times when I would just sack out on the couch with cats and a book. Just fiction has always been a huge part of my life. Entertainment, storytelling, especially anything adventure based. I mean, heck, I just rewatched The Goonies for the 1000th time. It's like there's just something. I mean, I don't know if you've ever watched or read Ready Player One, but that
I saw the
really,
movie.
I mean, you saw how much 80s was in that. I spent the whole thing just fangasming. It was great. So, yeah, I would want the job of someone who makes that kind of thing. I want other people to enjoy my stories the way I enjoyed what was out there as when I was a kid. I want to spread that joy forward.
If you were a director and your project, it basically inspired someone to want to be a director, that's mission accomplished.
Well, heck, mission accomplished is just if I brighten someone else's day. I mean,
Right.
because that's always my mission when I go to the movies is I want to feel better leaving the theater than I did when I went in.
Wow,
That's
that
why
counts out a lot of movies, though.
it does, but I like it when the good guys win. I like it when the protagonist gets the romantic interest protagonist at the end. I'm sanitizing that in this day and age, but whatever. When the boy gets the girl is what I didn't say. I mean, I like those endings. I'm not a huge fan of the like, oh look, you got all of your wishes and it ended up you're in hell now because of them. They always look out for what you want kind of thing. And all of those movies where like, oh yeah, you almost got your love interest, but then either they went with someone else or they got killed or something. Oh, how sad it is. I mean, I can get that in real life. In my movies and my TV, I want an emotion boost.
Yeah, I totally dig it. I mean, we are all chemical junkies. The chemicals in our head, love does it, chocolate does it, sex does it, all sorts of things do it. And the adrenaline rush that comes with being excited for whatever reason is a chemical in your brain. It's easy to get addicted to that rush.
It is.
Yeah.
So no, I mean that's really what I want to do is spread joy through storytelling, through imagination. I love imagination. It's the best. I mean, that's one of the reasons I said before I love childhood just as a state of being, because you can play make-believe and nobody looks down on you for it. I mean, heck, even when adults do it with things like Dungeons and Dragons, when there's rules and all of that's like, turned into protocol, you're still in the end playing make-believe when you play D&D, and people will look down on you for it if you're 46 years old and playing it. They'll ask you why you're wasting your life, quote unquote. And I'm like, ugh.
No, go ahead.
Well, it's just that I love the idea of making something that might make someone else want to play make-believe, play pretend, or make their own, whatever it is. I want to inspire the imagination.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing, I think. And I admire people who actually, it's one thing to want to do it, but it's another thing to actually try to do it. And that's what you do. And I think that's pretty cool. I have more of the stock questions now, but I think that's a good place to detour into your current projects and what you're up to. And I'll come back to the stock questions in a little minute. But so what are you working on now? Is how long is it actually going to work out to? Because I know it's so work intensive that just taking a few seconds takes so much work of your time. How long is the project going to work out to be when it's finished? Do you have any idea?
Well, that's hard to predict exactly. The Hollywood standard is a minute per page of script.
Right.
And my script is 44 pages. But a lot of that is just describing action that can take place in a few seconds. Or less, which is why I was on page 19 a few days ago. Now I'm on 23. It goes pretty quickly. I think in the end, it'll probably end up being anywhere from 25 to 30 minutes.
Cool.
But this project has taught me to manage my ambition. I have started planning out another project and the script is 3 pages long.
So doing what you're doing it because you can do it at your own pace, I suppose that's pretty cool. But would you do the same type of work like on an actual big budget production? If
I'm not sure. I mean,
you
I've
have
never worked on
deadlines
one.
and people breathing down your neck and bitching at you constantly, you know what I mean? I mean, I'm not sure if it
Yeah, I have to admit I do like being my own boss. It gives me a lot of freedom. There's a lot of times where I've looked at parts of what I've written and realized I should change it, and I don't have to approve that through like a director or a producer or anything. It's just something I did, and I mean, even it may not even be a real script change so much. I had a couple of characters who were having a conversation that originally took place while they were flying in their spaceships, and I realized, wow, that's boring. So instead of just having them sitting there chatting, I had them doing like pre-flight checks and putting on their helmets and checking their air gauges and all that stuff while they're having the conversation. If I was working on a big budget production and I wasn't the producer or the director, that kind of change is not something that I could like. I might be able to put it forward to the director if they'd even listen to me, but if I wasn't in charge, I would have to keep working on this thing that I thought was completely wrongheaded. Right.
right, right.
So being my own boss, being the director, the only thing that like could really make this easier is a budget.
Well, that makes an awful lot of sense. And your what was your previous one that you used to have? I can see her face, but I can't think of her name right now.
Sandra.
Thank you. My God.
Yes.
No, that was a total mind fire on my part. I do apologize.
And her
Um,
robot companion, Dewey.
yeah, and she had a whole space station going on, didn't she?
Yeah, Rational Station, it was called.
I'm seeing her struggling. I should have looked this up before I got on. I'm so sorry.
I haven't made an episode of that in so long. It might even be more than, well, it's probably not more than 10 years, but it's been a long time. I used Sandra as like an animated avatar on my videos for a long time, but an actual episode of Rational Station, there were only like 4 of them.
Oh, okay. It felt like more to me for some reason, but I guess I saw a lot more snippets or whatever. I don't know. No, I really like that, and yeah, your video channel on YouTube's has evolved so much since we first met. Because when we first met, you did videos where you weren't on camera and you had voiceovers whilst also having like letters going across, so you're making 2 points at the same time a lot of the time, and I thought that was really clever. I really used to be jealous how clever your scripts were.
Aw.
Yeah, I mean it. I really was. I'm like, damn, those are good videos. you know. And I don't really blame you really I mean, you probably carried on doing the atheist answer back videos longer than anybody else in the old atheist community.
That's possible.
Yeah, well, certainly of the ones that I was subscribed to anyway. I mean, there might be others out there. I don't really know. But from the very old school of sort of 09 school that I'm thinking of, yeah, you were the last person standing.
It does seem like it, yeah, but I had to move on. It was time.
Yeah, I mean, you can only make those arguments over and over again, and you, to your credit, you made them in different ways, as much as was, I think, humanly possible. But I mean, because you get the same bad arguments to argue against, you really sort of confronted with using the same or similar arguments to rebut. So
well, and a lot of why I kept at it as long as I did, like I knew a lot of creators who would make one video about each argument and then never make another video again. And I was like, and some who just did it for catharsis after leaving their own religion. Whereas I sort of saw it as activism. I was trying to change minds. I was trying to put information out there that might help people understand atheists, all of that stuff. So I knew repetition was necessary. And
yeah.
I had accepted that. I had basically incorporated that into my axioms, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I thought one of the things that you did and you bailed on, which I don't blame you at all.
I think I know where this is going.
was when BionicDance reads the Bible so you don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
I loved that series because I didn't want to read the Bible. And I really wanted you to finish it.
I got halfway through 2 Kings and just couldn't stomach any more of it.
I know, right? It's terrible.
I mean, even if I had been doing like the NIV instead of the KJV, like if I'd been reading something that was a little more modernized, a little more Americanized in its phrasing and all of that, I still think it would have been very dull. And I hadn't even gotten to the begats.
Yeah, right.
You know,
Oh
but
my
it was
goodness.
just like a lot of the Old Testament, at least, seems to be these little tiny vignettes that don't even seem to be related to each other. And some of them don't even seem to be related to believing in a God at all. I mean, I seem to remember there was at one point like a ship's cargo manifest or something going on. I mean, it was just really weird, all this stuff that the Old Testament talks about.
Mm.
I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, I like I say, I don't blame you for not doing it. I know, actually, I thought you carried on for longer than you might have. I probably would have given up way before that.
Well, I
Um,
have a stubborn
but I mean,
streak. You may have noticed.
it was just such an awesome, daunting task that I had. I was just like, I mean, if anybody ever decides to do that on YouTube, it will be a thing. You know, I mean, I'll be like, so and so does the whole Bible, and it'll be a thing because that's an amazing project to embark on. But you have to, I think you really have to like the Bible to be able to do it.
You're
You'd have to do
probably
it.
right.
You have to do it from the perspective of someone who liked the Bible, I think, in order to actually do it. And then in which case it kind of removes the point. At
Well,
least the
and
point
it's hard to
you would think.
picture liking the Bible, but maybe that's because I was raised without it.
Yeah. I was also raised without a Bible in my house, and I feel very lucky for that, you know? Um,
Yeah.
um, right. I was getting back to some of my stock questions here. This is a little bit on the personal side, but and you might need to give this some thought.
All
Um,
right.
what do you think? What do you reckon is the worst mistake you've ever made?
Ooh. Gosh. Uh, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean, far too many of the mistakes I've made have been in completely different categories from the rest of them.
Right.
And so measuring which one's the worst, oosh, I don't know. I don't know.
Well,
Actually,
yes.
I'll be
If you
honest,
have to
maybe
nail it
moving
down,
to San
you'd probably rather
Diego.
nail it down and give me a top three, right? So,
No, no, actually, I think maybe moving to San Diego wasn't my best move in the world.
right.
I don't like it here.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
And I miss Seattle a great deal. But I also, in recent years, have become kind of nostalgic for Vermont again, which is weird because, like, at the time when I was a kid, I hated it there just because it wasn't really civilization. And a lot of the things I wanted to do, like if you wanted to have the opportunities, you needed to be in a city, kind of things. You know, so I hated it there then. But looking at it now, and when I go back, I realize it's actually a really great place to have grown up. And I've been feeling nostalgic for that too. So I've been thinking, like, as soon as the pandemic makes moving no longer impractical, I may be looking at leaving this place, but I'm not really sure for where.
Right. Wow, that's interesting because it's my recollection you own your place, right? So if you wanted
I
to
do.
move, you if you wanted to move, you might find. I mean, my goodness, I travel to St. Louis an awful lot, and houses in St. Louis are so cheap; it's unbelievable to me. Now, I mean, that there's reasons for that, but I mean, like coming from California as I do, you know, houses are cheaper now in St. Louis than they were when I left California in the '80s. So
Hmm.
it just blows my mind. So that's just one example. I mean, different parts of the country have different living, different costs of living. And I think house prices oftentimes, hopefully, should in an ideal world reflect the local earning power. And where earning power is low, you can usually get a good price if you're buying in cash. See, so
Well, one thing that's been happening to me lately is I've been getting a lot of realtors calling me up asking if I would sell the place, assuming that I'm a landlord and I'm renting it out rather
right,
than someone who lives here. You know, I keep having to explain to them it's my home, but
right,
the money they offer for the place is pretty high.
wow,
Like it's appreciated in value quite a bit. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
that must
It
make
could
the
turn into
wheels
a
start to
nest
turn
egg or
over.
something. I'm not sure. But there are, like you say, cheaper places to live. So, like, if I sold this place and moved it into somewhere cheaper, it would give me a bit of a nest egg, wouldn't it?
Well, right, I suppose so. But let me ask you this: so when you first moved to San Diego, I don't know, maybe I made this up in my head, but I thought you had like you were done with Seattle because of seasonal affective disorder.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, I didn't make that up in my head because I just thought, well, it rains a lot in Seattle, so you know, you know,
Well, it doesn't rain as much as people think, but it's overcast constantly.
yeah, right, yeah, like a lot, like pretty much like when I lived in Britain. I mean, it doesn't rain every day, but it's cloudy a hell of a lot, you know.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, and so that really was one of the reasons you moved away. And so it's not like you didn't like the social scene. You had a good set of friends there, but
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and I miss that a lot. I think that's one of the reasons why it was a bad move coming here is because my social circle shrank pretty hardcore. And one of the reasons why it's hard to make friends here is because it's so spread out. Every event, if you don't have a car, I mean, every event is like 30 miles away.
Right.
And the bus system here is nothing like Seattle. And a Lyft or an Uber is going to cost you way the hell too much. So it's just really hard to make friends
So
in
what
a
was the
place that's
original
that
draw
spread
of
out.
San Diego then? What was the original draw?
The weather mostly. I didn't quite realize. I should have done more research into how the transportation system was not nearly as good as Seattle's, I guess. I don't know.
Right. Okay. Right. Because like,
Yeah.
I mean, in California, generally speaking, public transport is not a priority. It's the same with the roads, though. I mean, they don't seem to want to spend the money on that stuff in California for whatever reason.
If it ever rains here at all, the streets flood like you wouldn't believe.
Right, right. But I suppose because I suppose they don't have the emptying capacity. There's a certain amount of square meters per hour that can be flow through a tube, and if the rainfall the runoff exceeds that, you're going to get a flood. And this is what happened earlier last year, or late last year when they had that flood in New York and New Jersey, is because the drains cannot possibly get rid of the water as fast as it runs off. Right.
Well,
So
I mean, even there, at least they know that it'll rain and they know they need that stuff. It just got to be too much. Here, no one expects the rain. It's Southern California. Everyone expects it to be sunny all day, every day, and it's not true. And when it's not true, they're not prepared. I mean, like seriously, we're talking about like streets flooding to the point where I'm surprised the exhaust isn't covered. It's like you don't want to walk down the sidewalk because you will get drenched by the cars going by. And of course, nobody knows how to drive in rain here.
Yeah, when I used to be a firefighter as well, if it hasn't rained for a long time, the roads are particularly slick after the first rain because there's lots of oil residue on the road, which then gets lifted, and the roads can get quite slick. It's pretty dangerous after the first rain, so that probably happens a lot.
Whereas I was raised in Vermont and I'm used to snow, never mind rain.
Indeed. Okay, I'm going to get back to my list here, Kate. And this is similar to the last question. It's a little bit personal and revealing, potentially. It might be hard to answer, but what do you reckon?
No, I've never killed a man. Sorry.
Shatner still lives. Therefore,
I
believe you. Right. But I mean, come on. No, seriously.
Wow.
So what do you think is the worst lie that you've ever told?
Oh, probably this one. Never. Okay, I guess the joke was lost. Never mind.
I got the joke, all right, but I'm not going to let that stand. Are you kidding?
I don't know. I mean, like I do my best not to lie. I'm sure I do it from time to time, but I don't know. Well, okay. When I was a teenager, I told my parents that damage that happened to the car was like that when I got out of the store.
I've got
I went into the store and it was fine. And when I came out, I guess someone did a hit and run. I don't know. That was probably the worst.
And as a result of telling that lie, have you ever been caught?
Nope.
And did you feel guilty?
Yeah. Well, like I said, I don't really like to lie and I try to avoid doing it. But, sometimes you do kind of have to save your ass, don't you?
Well, that's the purpose of lies, isn't it? No one tells a lie unless they have something to gain. And if getting out of trouble, it qualifies as something to gain, So, I mean, when I've said that to people, people don't lie unless they have something to gain. People argue with me about it all the time. They're like, oh, some people just lie to see if you believe them. And I'm like, well, that's what they want to gain. They want to see if you're gullible,
Yeah.
So yeah, anyway. So yeah, and most people, I hope, and certainly most of the people that we acquaint ourselves with on this channel, they're pretty straightforward people. I think most people are mostly decent most of the time, you know. And
I,
most
I,
people don't tell lies unless they have like some like urgent need to, you know, like I said, get away with something or get someone else out of trouble, maybe something like that,
or
you know.
get someone into trouble.
There you go. Hey, and you're an only child, right?
I am.
So you didn't have to grow up getting other people into trouble your whole life. So that's interesting that you came up with that because, you know,
Well, I went to school, you see,
of
so.
course, right. Yeah, yeah.
And also, who says I was the one who lied to get someone in trouble?
Right. Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. People might lie to
You
get
know.
you in trouble. Yeah. Yeah. We've all been there. That's for sure. All right.
I
So,
mean, I mean, heck, sometimes I wasn't involved at all except as a witness. And I watched someone tell a blatant ass lie just to screw with someone else's social standing.
wow.
It was high school. What can I say?
I understand. Yeah. Yeah. Like I said to Sue the other night, you know, nobody's totally honest. Nobody. And I'm, I understand that the question is difficult to answer because not only do most of us not tell huge lies very often, but people are obviously reticent to make themselves look bad as well. So there's that.
Hmm.
But
Well,
what I
I
said
have to admit, the
is,
one,
you know, no one's totally honest. And if you can show me a totally honest person, I'll hand you a mirror and show you a gullible person.
well, one
Because
of the biggest reasons like I don't. Oh, sorry, I lost what I was going to say. Something about.
about honesty and
Oh, never
lies.
mind. What? Um, no, I'm sorry. You made me think of something, and then I lost it. So
Sorry, I pumped it off. I'm sorry about that.
yeah.
Okay. Well,
Um,
onto a more positive vein. What do you reckon is your most proud achievement?
Whew, well, honestly, and this may be a little self-serving, I don't know, but as much as I complain about that ex of mine whose life I had to save, at the same time I saved a fucking life. You
Right.
know, so I'm kind of proud of that. Um,
You should be
and
proud of that, Kate, because
and
not
I'm
everybody knows what to do in that situation, and people die because of it. So you should be proud.
Yeah, well, and you know, I remember like health class in high school and middle school and all of that. You know, practicing on that stupid dummy. It
Right.
stayed with me, I guess. But I'm hoping that my greatest accomplishment is still ahead of me because this animation I'm working on, I think it could be a thing. You know,
That's a great
like
answer.
I've grown as an animator quite a bit during the course of working on this project, like almost every day. It's really helped me come into my own, and I like maybe I'm fooling myself, but I've been impressing myself with some of the shots I've been creating lately, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. And I hope people love it as much as I have been watching it back.
Mm.
You know, I
Well,
mean, maybe you have to be me and like what I like to like it, but I hope not.
well, I hope not too. But no, generally speaking, whenever I do anything creative, I'm doing it because I like it, and I hope other people like it. But it's
Exactly,
because
yeah.
I like it. You know, I don't kid myself at all. It's the same with my videos, my paintings, my poems, everything. I do it because I like it, and if other people like it, that's just a bonus. Um,
Well, you know, it's funny because there's a character in Quinn Redshift who says almost exactly that.
oh wow,
He built the perfect pub, right? Like it was, he came into a bunch of money and he built the place he most wanted to go. And the fact that other people like it is a bonus.
right.
You know,
That's
that,
pretty
I mean,
cool.
like, and that is actually why I made the animation as well, as I made something I wanted to see that I would have loved as a kid. And if other people like it too, bonus. I mean, that's literally in the script of my animation.
That's fantastic. Yeah, no, that's great. And I like the attitude as well, Kate, of just saying, I hope my best achievement is still ahead of me. That's a really positive way to look at basically
Well,
all endeavors,
I mean, I've heard people say things like that without anything to hang it on. You know, they're like, "Oh, your best days are still ahead of you," and it's like, why would you even think that? What makes you say? But I'm looking at this animation and going, you know, this could lead to bigger and better things. And I really hope it does. And that's why I feel like I can say maybe my best achievement is ahead of me, because I can see that I'm getting better at what I love to do. So,
Well,
you
I
know,
mean, are you going to be touting it around to see if you can get those types of offers?
well, I mean, I don't even know if I necessarily want an offer. I'd love to maybe have it shown at a convention, would be lovely.
Hmm.
And I don't know, do you have to submit something to the Hugos and Nebulas, or do they have to notice you? I don't know. But one thing I want to do with the animation when it's over, I mean, I have a lot more story I want to tell. I'm going to continue it as a graphic novel.
That's pretty cool.
So, which will actually go a lot faster than the animation ever would, because it's just, still frames.
Sure, but would you have someone else doing the writing, or
Oh,
sorry,
heck no.
the drawing? I mean, while you did the writing, or what?
No, no, no. I mean, I would just use the CGI program I have now to make the art, because what I'm doing
Oh,
is in a toon shaded style, so it looks like hand drawn art, more or less. And so I could easily use that as a comic book.
wow. I'm always jealous of anybody who has any actual talent. So consider me jealous of you. Um,
Well, the thing is, I mean, so much of it is skill, though. I mean, I know a lot of people who probably have a ton of talent and just lack ambition, or who think that they have no talent because they just picked up the instrument, or just picked up the brush, or just started writing, and they have no skill yet, even though they have a ton of talent.
hmm.
So, I mean, because like animating is definitely a skill. I mean, there's some necessary talent, although when I look at what I consider talent, I realize actually what I'm doing is imitating people who came before me. A lot of what I do is very derivative, but I think that's also the basis of its appeal. I like getting more of what I already like. So, I don't know. I mean, the bridge, the gap between talent and skill is one that I think a lot of people misunderstand.
Well, yeah, I think you're right. When it comes to, I'm so sorry, I just got distracted by Vegas there in the comments. Uh, no, for me, the skill that I need to develop to be able to do the type of thing that you're doing is more
Fair enough.
patience. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
what you're doing takes an awful lot of concentration, and which requires a lack of distractions. And my main problem in life is I just get distracted super easy. So, you know,
Well, one thing that I've been sort of coming to grips with and trying to learn more about is that I am definitely neurodivergent. There's no doubt about that. The flavor of neurodivergence, however, I've had a request into my doctor to get like an evaluation, and like nothing's happened. I need to remember to call them and bug them, but like I think there might be some autism going on. I was diagnosed as ADHD in the 90s. I don't trust that anymore. But what I've found is that I actually need the distractions to keep working. I can't work unless I have like Netflix or HBO Max or something going in the background. Otherwise, I start to go squirrely with the silence.
it's interesting that you say that, because I'm similar in the sense that I can read better if there's music in the background than I can if I'm in a silent room.
Yeah.
And I can paint better if there's music in the background than I can if I'm in a silent room. So, in a sense, if for me, because I spent my whole life with music, like 10, 12 hours a day for a long time. And one of the hardest things for me to get used to living where I live now, Kate, is that I don't listen to music very often because it's a distraction for her. And so
Oh.
so it's really been like actually the hardest part of my adjustment has been getting used to not listening to music all day long. you know
I mean, I
um
suppose Bluetooth headphones can only do so much, huh?
well, and I have my man cave, which I have a stereo in and all that kind of thing.
Oh, fair enough.
And so I escape up there whenever I want to, and it's not a problem. It's not a problem, but it was hard to get used to. That's all. Because I was just, you don't really think how used to it you are until it's not there. That you have music like 8 or 10 or 12 hours a day, and then it's gone. It's like having an amputation. It's really weird.
No, I
Anyway.
get you. I get you. I've had things like that happen. Maybe I was like living in a place that had a certain sound, or maybe people were like, I was near a restaurant and I could always smell it, and then I moved somewhere else and I'm like, something's missing.
Right. So a moment ago, you mentioned about being neurodivergent, and we talked a little while ago about how you, when you started having seizures about 10 years ago or so. And it's my recollection that about 3 or 4 years ago, you had an operation on
Yeah,
your actual
laser
brain.
ablation surgery is they basically drilled a tiny hole in my skull, stuck in, like, I assume they used a camera of some sort, but they stuck a laser in there and cauterized the cavernous malformation so that it couldn't do what it does whenever I would like consume food that would act as a vasoconstrictor.
Wow. And so,
Yeah.
like, I mean, like, okay, I can only imagine, but it seems pretty daunting to have your brain operated on.
It was scary, I have to admit. It took some courage to get on the table, but I'm seizure free now and have been since the surgery, so it was worth it. And
Yeah.
actually, unlike a lot of the procedures that they used to do, where they'd have to like take out a chunk of skull and you'd have a big old scar and everything, this I left like I forget if it was the next day or the day after that, but it was seriously like outpatient.
Right. So
And
you were
so
really like in like a dentist appointment, basically.
Oh, no. I mean, granted, I was pretty weak, but like right after, but yeah, I mean, a couple of days later, and I was, mostly back to normal.
That's amazing to me. And so was it on the frontal part of your brain or back here?
It was in the back and up. It was the left mesial temporal lobe.
Okay. Oh, I know right where that is. Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
so that's actually back here. Yeah, I get it.
Well, it was actually a little higher.
Toward the middle. Yeah.
No higher.
Okay, fair enough. Um, anyway, yeah, and because of that, do you have are there things you can't do anymore because of that, or are you like everything's cool?
You mean like legally, or do you mean have I lost abilities?
Either or both.
Well, legally, no. There's like you can't drive for 6 months after your last seizure, and given that my last one was years ago, there's really no legal restrictions at all. One thing I have lost is a metric fuck ton of memory. My short-term memory is garbage, and
Right.
there are a lot of like events from my past that I used to be able to remember that I now have to be told about.
That must be uncomfortable.
It is, and a little scary at times, but well,
You have to take someone else's word for your own life experiences, and that's kind of weird, isn't it? It's
it
uncomfortable.
is. And people have told me about stuff I've done that I don't remember. People have told me about, like, I remember walking past a restaurant here in San Diego. I think it was when my dad was visiting, but it might have been with a friend, whatever, it doesn't matter. And pointing at a restaurant, going, I've been meaning to try that place. And like getting this look. And I'm like, what? And they're like, we ate there yesterday, idiot. Just little things like that where I don't I can't recall. Also, I lose words and definitions a lot. Sometimes I look at someone's face and I know them, but their name will not come out. Or someone will tell me someone's name and I can't conjure up the face. I used to be amazing at that, and now I can't. So, it didn't come without some permanent damage, these seizures. I doubt it was caused by the surgery. I think it was the seizures.
Sure, and I'll tell you something. As an aside, it was stuff like this that sort of made me. How do I put this? I used to be more sort of inclined to believe in a personal spirit, you know,
Mhm.
even as an atheist. But now I realize, because I have friends and family members who've had either brain injuries and or brain operations, and some people who've had permanent brain damage, I mean, their personality will never be the same.
Yeah.
So you can argue with yourself for months about, are they the same person inside, but they're not the same person outwardly? Or, I mean, so just little tiny tweaks in the seat of your consciousness can make a huge difference, you know?
Well, and there are a couple of things that I don't know if I'm just not remembering correctly or what, but I feel like after the brain surgery, a couple of things changed in a positive way. I seem to have less fear, or at least I'm less inclined to panic when things go sideways. Like if say a bag of food or a glass or something suddenly starts to fall off of a shelf, I usually can grab and catch it without my adrenaline spiking in the least. It's just, oh, whoop, gotcha. Where I used to be like, oh crap, and I'd be juggling it all over the place and it'd probably end up falling onto the ground. Now I'm just like, calm as a coma, gotcha, and put it back up on the shelf like it was nothing. I don't know that that was a thing that happened with the surgery, but it seems to have happened concurrently. So I at least suspect
Right.
correlation, causation, all that,
Yeah, sure. Either it was the surgery or you're just getting older and wiser, you know. Um,
I don't know.
I don't know. No, so no, I'm very pleased to hear that it fixed the seizures though. Obviously that was the main thing.
Mhm.
And I'm not surprised though to hear that it doesn't come with zero sort of, after effects. It doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
Right, I'm going to get back to my list here for a second.
All right.
I would like you to stretch your imagination far enough to imagine that I am a genie and I can grant you 3 wishes. Okay.
Hmm.
But one of those wishes can't be for yourself. What would those wishes be?
Well, that's a shame because I'm actually only going to get one real wish for myself
Aw.
because I've given this way too much thought, and I've read way too many books about like genies and monkey paws and shit, where when you wish for something, it's granted in a technically correct way that ends up fucking you over.
Yeah.
Right. So my
I
first wish would be
dazzled,
something along the lines of like, I wish that every wish I make, including this one, is granted as I intend without negative, unforeseen consequences.
okay.
So that would be wish number one, just to fucking get like the wishes I ask for to be what I ask for.
Right.
Let's see. One of the wishes that that couldn't be for me. Ah, well, okay, maybe this is stupid because I have no connection to Michigan whatsoever, but let's just fix the water in Flint.
I love it.
I don't know why that has like become the
Because it's
thing
been
I've
going
latched
on for
onto.
8 years and it's still
Well,
happening. I mean, I think it's a great suggestion. It's probably one of my favorite ones I've heard so far.
but what I was about to get at though is like, I don't know why I myself have latched onto that when there's so many things in the world that need fixing. But ever since I've thought like if I had a gajillion dollars, if I had George Lucas money and I decided to be altruistic, step number one is Flint, Michigan, and I don't know why. But yeah, if I had a wish and I had to wish it for someone else, it would be that. As for the wish for myself, hyperspace capable starship.
Wow. I should have known. I should have known.
Well,
I should have known. I can't believe I didn't see that coming. I mean,
well,
honestly, I can't believe I didn't see that coming.
it was obvious, and I'll settle for warp drive. I'll settle for warp drive if I gotta, or heck, why not the quantum drive from the Orville? Either way.
I love the quantum drive from the Orville. The Orville's my favorite of
Oh,
like
I love it. I was just
in
rewatching it
the
earlier
past
today.
about
While I
15
was,
years. It's the best thing I've seen for a long time. It's great.
I was watching it earlier today while I was animating. So yeah, I'm
Um,
on the episode. The one with the up and down arrows where they rate people.
yep.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, the place that's an absolute democracy. Yeah.
Hmm.
And every single thing you do is voted on. I mean, it's a terrifying concept. It's almost worthy of Black Mirror.
Yeah, I've only seen a few episodes of that, but what I did see was pretty twisted. Did you see the episode with the two guys who like start falling in love in this virtual reality street fighting game? Because what bothered me about that one was the female character was named Roxette, which is the name of my favorite band, and I can't contact the writer to find out if that was like just Convergent Evolution or were you inspired by my favorite band?
Almost
I've
certainly
tried
the
to
latter.
track down the
Almost
writer
certainly
to
the
ask.
latter. Almost certainly the latter. I'd be willing to gamble a fair amount. Give me just a second here. I just have to have a quick look at something.
All right.
Okay.
Roxette also got a shout out in Cobra Kai first season.
Okay, give me 1 second here. Okay, just got to do that. Okay, sorry, a little bit of a distraction. Anyhow, I'm back. Right, what I was going to say. Okay, back to the list here for a moment. Or hang on. No, that's fine. Back to this here for a moment. If you could change something about yourself, what would you change?
My hair.
Okay, that was an interestingly prompt answer. So this is something you've also thought about. It's not just like the three wishes, you know. I mean, and if you could change your hair, what would you change it
Yes.
to?
I would make it so that it's the straightest thing about me. I hate having curly hair. You have no idea. Through my entire childhood, I looked like Weird Al Yankovic. I hated it. Like seriously, you have no idea what it's like to have curly hair. It is miserable. You can't do anything with it. It can't be long unless you go through all kinds of god awful gyrations to do it. It's just a pain in the ass. I mean, like when I hear about people who complain about how they have like this mousy hair that can only be straight and they can't do anything with it, I'm like, yeah, but you can probably like get out of the shower, let it dry, comb it, and you're done. You know, I have to get a flat iron and 5 different sets of product to get, never mind the shampoo and conditioner. You
Right,
know,
right.
it's just seriously, it's been the bane of my existence.
Well, you're right. I don't personally know what it's like, but my son had very curly hair, and he could not have a hairstyle at all. Any
Yeah.
hairstyle, any hairstyle, they're all out. And it's just his hair would not cooperate, and so his hairstyle was bird's nest, and it actually suited him. You know, it's just like
Well,
how it looks in the morning is how it was going to be all day. But
I,
now,
you know, well, you were asking before about greatest mistakes. I think when I finally got fed up and shaved my head in high school, that was a bit of a mistake too.
really,
Yeah, I don't have any pictures. Don't ask.
did you not find shaving your head empowering in some ways?
No, I just looked ridiculous.
All right, see, because like
I mean, the idea was not empowerment. The idea was, can I please have manageable head fur? And
right, so you thought if you
granted,
start from
bald
zero.
is easily managed, but it was not attractive, not on me. Like maybe Ripley in Alien 3 can pull it off, but I can't.
Right. um, right. So that's a nice straightforward answer though, your hair. And uh I miss my hair. Anyway, I'm fine. I'm fine. I'm fine. So let's just stretch our imagination again here for a moment. And you're going to have a fantasy dinner party where with 8 people at the table, you being one of the people. So you get to invite 7 guests. They can be from any time in history. Um, who would you invite and why?
Hmm. Well, obviously the first person to pop into my head was George Lucas,
Lucas.
because that would be fun. In fact, most of the people that are popping into my head are directors. I mean, James Cameron came up second, but you know, like, geez, I would have to give that a lot more thought. I mean, I'm not usually one for excessive organization, but in a case like this, I would probably get out a whole bunch of paper and start making charts and, you know, like pros and cons and you know, checking my motivations. Did I invite that actress just because I want to see if she's into me, or did I invite her because I respect her? You know, that kind of thing. And do I really want to invite an actress? Maybe I need like a scientist or something. I don't know, a politician kind of thing.
Okay,
Goodness knows I'd like to give Bernie Sanders a piece of my mind about how he wasn't aggressive enough, you know, that kind of thing.
sure.
So,
Sub question then, sub question. Fantasy dinner for yourself and 7 guests, all of whom have to be female,
all right.
okay? And therefore you want to invite them for the reason you just mentioned.
What? Because I wanted to see if they are into me?
Yeah. Who,
Ah,
who would you
all
invite?
right.
Who would you invite for that party?
Well, the first person to pop to mind was Clea Duvall. I don't know if you know her, but she was in the movie But I'm a Cheerleader, which was a lot of fun. She was also in The Faculty, if you're more for like 90s emo shit, like
Right.
yeah. I don't know. I've got a bit of a crush on her. Ooh, Joan Jett.
Joan Jett. Wow. She still looks amazing.
Yes. Lori Petty is another one. Let's see. Very obscure actress named Lauren Lachlan that nobody but me seems to know. Let's see. Gosh, who else? Who else? Well, I already know that even if she wasn't dead, Marie Fredrickson is straight, so there's that. I won't be inviting her. I don't know how many, like, I haven't been counting. How many am I up to now?
I think that's 6. So you got one more.
One more. All right. Wow. I don't know. I did, like I said, I have to get out a chart or something.
Fair enough.
I would have to
Fair
do a
enough.
lot of.
It doesn't have to be 8 people in general necessarily. The Green Machine has a comment which I thought was amusing here. When George shows up, make him apologize for everything he did after episode 6.
Honestly, I don't hate the prequels the way everyone else seems to. I would, however, force him to apologize for selling it off to Disney.
Right.
That was kind of an unforgivable thing to do. Disney Wars is so awful. I will absolutely die on that hill. Rogue One was one of the worst movies I've ever seen. I know that is not a popular opinion, but it was one of the most shallow, made me feel nothing for the characters. Their deaths meant nothing. I don't remember their names, movies that I've ever seen. It was just bad. It was like watching somebody else play a video game.
Right. Well, I've only ever watched it, I think once, maybe twice. But the thing you said about don't remember their names, that's actually an interesting metric to think about it on. And you're right. I don't remember anybody's name. Not right now.
That's actually become my metric for whether I like something or not, is how attached I grow to the characters. I mean, there's TV shows out there that are so far outside my wheelhouse that you'd wonder what the hell I'm doing. Have I gone insane for watching it? But the truth is that I just really like the characters. I like hanging out with them for a half hour or an hour a week. I think that's great. So and one other metric has become, can I picture your characters laughing? Like, I might enjoy The Expanse, but everyone's always so serious all the time, so grim all the time, that I'm like, I couldn't hang out with any of you. I don't enjoy your presence, real or fictional. So I didn't get into The Expanse. It's also why I couldn't get into the rebooted Battlestar Galactica. But it is why I ended up enjoying, say, How I Met Your Mother. Like, not really interested in a show about dating, but those characters are quirky as hell, so I ended up loving the show.
Right.
That kind of thing.
Okay, that's cool. Well, listen, we're getting close to where I want to wind up, but I wanted to offer members of the chat to ask you any questions that they might have for you. So it looks like we've got 3 or 4 people in there. Mulligan Stu, if you're still there, have you got a question you'd like to ask Kate? Same with you, Vegas. Same with you, Green Machine. And Raven, if you're still out there, feel free to pipe in.
All right, well, let me get out ahead of one of those questions. Yes, the carpet matches the drapes. Anyway.
You mean in your apartment, right?
Yeah, that's definitely, yeah.
Oh dear, oh my.
I don't know. It just seemed like the most goofy question I could think of.
Well, I mean, I don't even have to tell you. You've been on the internet for probably as long as I have. I've been on the internet now for 25 years, and for women on the internet, I know you have to develop a pretty tough skin.
It's true.
To be able to sort of get by.
Believe me, I've spent almost my entire YouTube career being called ugly. Believe me, if you don't get thick skin, you'll never last.
Right, I suppose. Well, I mean, that's one thing I was going to mention as a slightly aside was that, you've been involved in your fair amount of YouTube dramas over the years.
It's true.
And I don't know, something I really try to avoid on the tubes after, I suppose it was 2011. The last time I really got involved with it, the whole Thunderfoot and the Muslim thing was going on. It was just too much, basically. But do you feel that how do you feel it affected the evolution of your channel, getting involved in those dramas?
Honestly, it's a large part of why I left, why I stopped making videos, is I got sick and tired of the drama. There was too much of it, and a lot of it would spin completely out of my control. I couldn't, let's put it this way. I couldn't be taken the way I intended my words to be taken. And by the time I'd clarified, it was too late. And I was like, this is not worth it at all. And I wouldn't have thought that atheists could have quite so many conflicts, but apparently, yeah, we get on each other's nerves a lot. And I got tired of it. I think you remember the whole dust up between me and Steve McRae. And like that was the beginning of the end, I think, for me. I was sick and tired of just like every 2 minutes someone hated someone new, and I was worried it was going to be me.
Right. Well,
I switching to animation as I have. I mean, granted, I've only really put out one actual animated thing so far because I've been working on Quinn Redshift. It's one episode of a series I want to continue called Head Meets. I'm just so much happier now that I'm out of the drama. My life is better for not being part of it anymore. Don't get me wrong, I had a great time being part of the YouTube atheist community, but I feel better now. Even if it's not just that I left the community, even if leaving the community isn't why I feel better, maybe it's because I'm animating, I'm pursuing my true passion again. But for whatever reason, it was one of the best decisions I made to stop making atheism vids, and also to unsubscribe almost every atheist channel. There's only one, and I don't know why I'm still subscribed to the Messianic Manic. I guess I just like his videos, but almost everyone else I unsubbed. I'm still an atheist, but I got it. I had to get out of the scene.
The Messianic Manic makes great videos, and he's just like, super nice guy. So of course you're still up to him. So I'm going to put up some of the comments, questions from the viewers now. Kate, can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay.
I suppose it depends on what you're after, because, that'll affect whether you like one better. But I say, in general, I have to say the West Coast. When the weather's cooperating, I love Seattle. San Diego's nice enough to visit, and it's probably great if you have a car, but I don't. And of course, if I want to be an animator and I want to do more than just, animating out of my house, being on the West Coast is kind of necessary. It's where all the special effects houses are, unless I wanted to get back into games. But even those are mostly on the West Coast. So I guess I got to say the West Coast. The East Coast has a lot to recommend it, but I think the West Coast is more willing to be weird.
I would agree with that. I've never really spent time on the East Coast, though, so I shouldn't really have an opinion, but it just seems that way. Anyway, next question from Vegas.
Vanilla. Ben & Jerry's world's best vanilla. I don't know why people think vanilla is boring. If you use it right, it's exotic, even erotic. It's one of the best flavors ever. I don't know. I've been using white bread to describe boring instead of vanilla, and I hate it when people do that. But seriously, if I get a spoonful of the best vanilla ice cream I can find, like I said, probably Ben & Jerry's world's best, if they still make it. I haven't seen it in stores in ages. It's just heavenly. I love it.
Yeah, I was saying to Zonstar on Sunday, my favorite ice cream is vanilla, and I hate having to apologize for that, but it's just, you know what I mean? It's just I have to apologize for it for some reason. Okay, Mulligan Stew next.
To hear about. I guess not, because I don't know what the heck that is.
Yeah, I don't know what that is. I was hoping you would know.
It sounds vaguely familiar, but maybe I'm just remembering those advertisements. I honestly, clearly nothing came of it. So how am I? How am I what? I don't know. I guess I'm all right. I don't know. In general, life has been up and down more times than a pair of kangaroos in the mating season, but I guess in general, I'm doing all right.
I'm pleased to hear that. Have you got any love interest at the moment, Kate?
No.
Nah.
No, I'll be honest, I don't really know where to go to meet people, because it's like you go to a bar, you're picking up someone drunk, but where else do lesbians hang out in San Diego?
Right. Well, I can't answer that.
Yeah, I don't know. It was easier in the goth scene. Even if you couldn't find a dyke, everyone else was bi.
That's hilarious. But do you get out to socialize? I don't know this for sure, but you seem to be kind of like me, whereas I was not inclined to go out looking to meet someone, but if I met someone, I'd be perfectly open to getting to know them better.
That's about right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, well, and I mean, pre-pandemic, I used to get out a fair bit, but I mean, I'm not even sure. Do we still have the mask mandate in California? For 5 minutes, we didn't, and then it seemed like it came back again. Now I don't know. But like going to social events, like in the wake of COVID, if we can even say it's over yet, and I'm not sure we can, is fraught, to say the least. So if I wanted to go on the prowl, I'm not sure even that I can at the moment. I mean, how did anyone date when like we were at the height of the pandemic? You know, everyone's masked up. No one knows what anyone looks like. You can't
Honestly,
snog a stranger if you're drunk enough. It's not going to happen.
yeah, you
So
can't. You have that sort of lean in moment where you may or may not kiss each other. You really can't do that with your both masks on. So
yeah,
yeah,
I don't know. Um, and a lot of the other places I might go, usually they're dominated by straight folks, you know, like entertainment venues and stuff, game nights, all of that. In fact, I was the only lesbian at game night. There were two gay dudes, but I was the only lesbian at board game night. It was very frustrating.
yeah, it sounds frustrating. Fucking heteros, they're everywhere.
Yeah. Darn it.
Yeah. Right on. Well, listen, Kate, I want to thank you again for agreeing to do this interview and stuff. And should I send you invites again to the jamborees, or should I not send you invites again to the jamborees? I don't know. I
Oh,
mean,
you know what? What
basically,
the
you are
heck?
welcome to be as involved in this channel as you want to be.
Well, here's a question. Remind me what day they take place again.
It's on a Saturday. Yeah.
Saturday. I should be able to like the I don't know if you know about movie nights, the one that Strike used to do, and now Striking is continuing. It's used to be on Friday nights, now it's on Saturday nights, where it's just like a long panel of debunkery.
Right. Okay.
You know, but it tends to start around 9 p.m. and I think the jamborees would be over by then, wouldn't they?
Ish. Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep them short now. So yeah, I'm trying to. My goal is to make sure the jamborees are between 3 and 4 hours. And since they start at 5 o'clock on the West Coast, yeah, they'd be over by 9. Yeah.
Okay, great. Then I can fit it into my schedule. Sure, shoot me a link. I'm ready to join back up. I mean, the main reason I stopped doing the jamborees was also because I was leaving the atheist community, and most of the people in the jamborees were from there.
Yes.
And so I needed to take a break. I need to take a step back. I'm ready to come back, at least peripherally. I'm not going to make videos again, but I'm still ready to be part of it.
Well, listen, and do you remember early on when we first started doing this type of video as opposed to the old Breakfast Club videos that we used to do? Do you remember me and you had a chat in the summer of 2020 or spring of 2020 about like sci-fi and stuff?
I think so.
If you ever want to have like just a one-on-one chat like that about any subject with me, hit me up. I'm game. We can put it on a channel. Fine.
Okay.
Because I think it's easier. Here's my thing, Kate. So I learned the hard way after years and years that getting people to do one video a week was really, really hard. It's hard to arrange and it's hard to maintain. It's actually harder to maintain than it is to arrange.
I kept running out of topics.
It's not just you; it's everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, if people get to a point where they either don't know what to talk about or whatever, or you just usually I'm free on my day, but this week I'm busy and blah, blah. It just never fucking ends. So I don't really want to do that type of thing anymore, but I'm more than happy to do more sort of spur of the moment things. You know, if you've got like an hour to kill or whatever, and you want to do a hangout, hit me up.
Well, I do have some, I don't want to say controversial, let's say out there topics I wouldn't mind discussing from time to time. So yeah.
There's literally nothing I would not enjoy talking with you about. So yeah, that'd be great.
See, now I want to take that as a challenge.
Well, you go ahead and take it as a challenge, my dove.
You know, like New Jersey tax code, or I don't know.
Well, I'm sure go ahead and test me. I dare you.
All right. Well.
Anyway, all right. So I want to thank everybody in the chat for hanging out with us and being so good sports and everything. And so say goodbye to the chat there, Kate.
Goodbye, chat.
I will continue to talk to you in the after show. Bye, everybody. We'll see you on Friday. I've got an interview with Sword Sage, who hasn't been on the channel for quite some time. So I'm looking forward to getting reacquainted with him.